Hello, chat. So you don't like it when we call you chat, but you're chat.
They're chat. Did you see the comment? There were 2 comments. People angry about being called chat.
Being called chat. Well, you're chat today. And it is December 22nd, 2020. We're almost done with this horrible year. And today we're doing security. And honestly, I don't even remember the other category because security is kind of the major story this week.
Government. And we will start with government because that's the tradition.
Yeah.
Even though security is the
bigger news.
It's the big thing this week. And I think your intro, Krista, one thing we have to point out is we should not set up people's hopes that the year ending is going to change anything.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to change anything.
What's your New Year's resolution for 2021? Survive.
Yeah, buy a house.
We got through the pandemic, but will we get through the economic repercussions?
Are we doing an ad this week?
Oh, yeah, Linode. It's Devember. Linode has got us covered through the end of Devember. You get free Linode credits, and it's getting a little late to participate in Devember, but we're probably not going to do the judging until probably the middle of January, I'd say, give or take.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere in the middle of January. And that's what we're going to do for the Minecraft competition as well, right?
Yes, that is the plan. We're giving them an extra week because we had some issues with the Minecraft server, making sure it was stable enough for lots of people to play, but it is good now.
Oh boy, the Minecraft server on Linode, you should see that. It is jaw-droppingly insane.
Now that it's dialed in, it's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very solid. I've played on it a couple times this week.
And people are doing some impressive stuff.
Yes. I think that there are some people that are probably going to the bathroom at their computers.
They pointed out that the one guy was between jobs.
Oh.
So that makes it hard to compete, but you can do it. You can still play just for fun.
Also, one guy burned out his video card during his Minecraft game.
Oh, no.
So hopefully he wins. Maybe we'll throw him a video card. We'll give him a door prize. Well, let's talk about who else is struggling during these times. Struggling is the wrong word, but things are trending downward if you are a giant tech company. Because all of a sudden, you are getting a lot of attention. And I swear, it's every week at this point. Sometimes 2 and 3 a week.
It's not the good kind of attention either.
It's across the globe. And you might look at this and you'd be like, this is a repeat story. We already did this story. No, this is a different 10. 10 new ones.
Pretty much all the states soon.
10 states sue Google for alleged anti-competitive behavior.
Is the battery dead in this?
No, shouldn't be. I mean, I don't know.
This is a weird episode.
Is it the right profile? Yeah?
No.
No?
Hey!
Krista, do we still have your audio?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, no, that's fine. We'll just leave that in. We're not going to edit. It's Christmas week. Like, you're just going to have to take what you get. I don't know.
Everything's kind of going to be weird this week.
Woo! So a bunch more states have signed on. I think a little bit of this here in the U.S. is that perhaps, they're reading the writing on the wall about the power transition. Our Attorney General stepped down. Biden is probably going to be more big tech company friendly. So the states are like, well, we might as well just proceed with this because the Attorney General is not going to do anything with the incoming administration.
Also, I think they're looking at their budgets.
A couple of the states said things that didn't make it seem like they were just going to just pay a small fine and we'll go away, but maybe that's what's going to happen.
But it's the old, anti-competitive ads controlling the infrastructure. It's the same arguments. There's nothing new there. It's just new people getting in on it. And a different lawsuit. Those Google lawyers, you think you're busy at the end of the year.
They're all just crying under their desks right now because they're not allowed to work from home.
Krista, we just got a huge hiss. What's going on? Did the HVAC come on?
Yes, sorry.
I think she might have automatic gain control turned on, which if she's quiet, it'll just slowly get louder and louder and louder.
It shouldn't have done anything different. I have not changed any settings on it other than I just had to switch computers because the other one was acting up. But
we'll power through it unless it gets worse.
I'm trying to mute myself between moments when I'm talking as well. Maybe that's not helping.
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely picking up in and out. Anyway, we talked last week about the FCC. They have just given out, or at least announced, the next round of free money that they will give to the ISPs.
You need to imagine the governmental version of that time Oprah gave away a bunch of cars.
Except none of the ISPs are excited. They're just sitting back there. It's like, of course you're going to give us money. That's what we put you in there for.
We can't wait to not use this to improve the infrastructure around the country.
And in some cases, it's more egregious than others. We talked about, was it Charter we talked about last week?
Charter, yeah.
And they're just a horrible track record. But there's one company that might actually have a worse track record. And someone, at least in power, has noticed and has said something.
Senator tries to block Frontier's FCC funding, citing ISP's various failures. It's Frontier. Now, it's funny because this senator is from West Virginia. And guess where Frontier is? West Virginia. I happen to have some personal experience with Frontier in West Virginia. And boy, howdy, let me tell you what a stinking pile of crap it is. It is amazing. It is just so, it is shockingly bad. And so this senator went to great lengths to point out all of the other times that Frontier has literally not done anything that they've promised. And they're like, you know what? We probably shouldn't give them any money because we've been burned, I don't know, 8 or 9 times now. Does anybody else see this? And, you know, the other Congress critters are like, oh, free money, whatever.
But we're going on vacation. It's the end of the year.
One very important thing you're leaving out is that Frontier is in bankruptcy right now.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
And so this office of this senator did the math. And after they satisfy their creditors as to the terms of the bankruptcy and get this money, they're still missing like $127 million to build this out. Like they literally don't have the funds to do what they're being paid to do.
So it's like every other ISP. I didn't find that unremarkable.
Yeah. They're the worst, maybe not by a large margin. But yeah.
There was another article. There was another version of this article, or another. The alternative source of this article talked a little bit about this, and also mentioned the author's personal experience with AT&T Fiber. And they're like, you know, I think I've put it together because he's tried to sign up for AT&T Fiber like 5 or 8 times, but there's no fiber to his house. So like he'll sign up and the truck will come out and they'll be like, that's weird, we can't give you fiber. And then they leave. And so throughout 2020, he's been doing that. And then he's like, why wouldn't they ever correct that? Because they are wasting a lot of money constantly sending people out and back. And he finally put together is like lying to the FCC about coverage.
The map.
Yeah. So that's why it's never been corrected. And it's like, ooh, fraud? Shocking.
But here's the question. If this senator gets this money clawed back, or they just don't give it to him, I don't think it's actually been given out yet, is that going to improve the ISP situation for West Virginians, or is it going to make it worse?
I don't think it can get much worse than what we see now with Frontier.
What it is now.
Community broadband could actually be the best thing to happen to West Virginia, which is probably what will happen if Frontier collapses.
Is that one of those states that has laws against it that they've put in over the years? Because there's a lot of that.
I really hope not. If that senator is clued into that, then maybe they could fix it with that. It's like, do we rip the Band-Aid off at once or very slowly and painfully?
John Denver should get involved here. Sometimes when they're not suing you, these government agencies might just ring you up and let you know, it's like, we're watching. We will see everything that you do, and then they just hang up ominously. And that
they don't know what else to do.
That seems to be what the FTC is doing. They're not announcing anything specific. They just want to take a look.
The FTC launches sweeping privacy study of top tech platforms. I had a completely different take on this than that, which was, you know how the FCC is constantly abdicating its responsibility? I took this as to be like the bumbling FTC, which normally does not work in the digital space, saying, okay, if we have to handle electronic stuff, we're going to have to like school ourselves and learn how to do this. And so I interpreted this as basically saying, okay, we're watching now. We'll get back to you.
They point out that anything they find is totally viable in moving forward with, like, you know, more stuff, fines or criminal stuff or whatever. So also going to be a busy week for whoever's preparing that package for them at the big tech companies. Yeah. They're going to be doing a lot of scrubbing. We found out this year what happened to all the Silk Road money. And the answer was the government hoarded it till it was worth, you know, $18,000 a coin and then sold it all off for a massive profit.
Huh.
You know who didn't get any of that money was the man who created the whole thing. In fact, he got a life sentence.
No, 2 life sentences plus 40 years.
Oh, well. 2 life sentences. So some people think that's too harsh, and maybe there's a small glimmer of hope for him.
Trump is considering clemency for Silk Road founder. 2 sources tell the Daily Beast that the president has expressed sympathy for the situation of Ross Ulbricht and is currently serving 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. I think it's 2 life sentences plus 40 years, if I remember correctly.
Now, they point out that he did, in the chat logs that were seized, he tried to have some people killed. But he wasn't charged with that. They dropped that charge.
Yeah.
So technically, was he over-sentenced? Or were they just taking accounts like, you tried to kill people? Legally, I think they have to have the charge in there to give you time for it. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's this is not the first time that I've heard this. I've heard some people that were in Trump's sphere of influence utter things like, "Oh, that's too harsh of a sentence for that. It's just because computers were involved."
Yes, there was the scope of it, but he didn't break the laws other than the computer laws.
Yeah,
and a double life sentence for computer crimes.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Some people are going to argue it's like, what about that black kid who gets 3 strikes?
Yeah,
and sells a dime bag of weed and gets life sentence. There's problems. I don't know. Well, also they point out that Assange and Snowden are maybe on that short list. I think they are much more deserving of a pardon.
Yeah, yeah. And it is actually case law now that some of the stuff that Snowden pointed out, judges have actually said that is illegal, which is the textbook definition of making him a whistleblower. He may have done other things that we don't know about, but at least for that part of it, that was not legal activity. But it's still going on.
Yeah. And the punishment he would get if they got their hands on him would be way
disproportionate. Yeah. Just because he made them, he what's the thing called, like when you're punished for exposing the hypocrisy of politicians, where it's like extra severe? It's
tyranny, I believe. Last week we talked about the situation in Florida with the whistleblower. Speaking of whistleblowers, this young lady, she was blowing the whistle on maybe Florida was kind of toning down the whole pandemic cases thing. Maybe just like sweep a few under the rug.
There were a lot of news articles about that insinuate that they are not using her data as a source.
Right. So she has like this alternate data, and it was another situation of maybe a little heavy-handed approach from those in power because they were embarrassed by somebody. Well, obviously, the governor is the one who has really been taking heat for this, and he had a chance to talk about it.
Angry Florida Angry Florida governor defends police raid on COVID data whistleblower. So we covered that last week. Deputies entered her house, guns drawn, and it's really interesting. There's so much disinformation coming out of that. But one of the amazing things here is the governor said he had no idea, but in this press conference, he indicates that he did in fact have an idea. So he's already been caught in a lie, at least one lie.
Congrats, he played himself.
Yeah.
Now it's all, I think, pretty cut and dry. If you read between the lines, it's like, yes, the governor was doing something wrong. He got embarrassed. He sent in his goons. He got caught at that. Now he's lying his way out of it. It's a tale as old as time, right? But here's a crazy twist on this story. I don't know if you caught this. This is Florida, folks. For you international viewers, you don't know about Florida and its relationship to the rest of the U.S. It's a place with really nice weather. But unlike California, which is like rich people nice weather, Florida is like white trash nice weather.
It is literally, parts of it are literally a swamp.
And it kind of like the worst of the north filters down there because it's so nice. And you get some real crazy stuff. And plus, a lot of South America just comes up and you get this sort of melting pot. And so here, let's just look at this paragraph. Wendell, if you'll read this for us.
Among the officers who took part in the raid was Erica Hindle Morris, the wife of Robert Morris, who is representing Jones.
Jones being the woman in question.
Who was representing Jones in an unrelated case in which she was charged with stalking a former romantic partner. Morris has since withdrawn from the stalking case. That seems weird.
What are the odds?
This is some Jerry Springer shit.
That's just a random coincidence. That's just
Or, you know, maybe the odds are incredibly high that any given lawyer that you interact with in Florida is working on a stalking case.
I just like that the police lied in their police report, because the police captain was like, at no time were weapons drawn, and then, oh, there's a video.
And then the governor said they were following protocol.
I don't think that's protocol I mean, come on. The other thing, too, is they said that they were trying to get her to answer the door for like 20 minutes. The recording shows that they didn't announce they were police for 20 minutes. I can't tell you how many times I haven't answered my door because it's like, I'm not expecting anybody. I'm not going to answer the door.
Yeah, and someone pounding on your door screaming, like, hell no, I'm not answering that.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. Unfortunately, it sounds like she's got a bit of a dark past, and they're probably going to use that to pick her apart.
I mean, you know, everybody's got a dark past if you dig deep enough. And
yeah, hers might be just a few inches under the dirt. California, now during the election, California, I don't know if you want to say lost. I mean, it was just the people's choice. But I think if you ask the California powers that be, the lawmakers, they would say they lost the battle against Uber and the whole, like, whether or not those people are employees. And maybe that has lessened their patience for any other shenanigans that Uber is doing, which it is most certainly doing when it comes to giving them data about this topic.
California fines Uber $59 million for stonewalling questions about sexual assaults. Judge threatens to suspend Uber's license to operate if it doesn't comply within 30 days. This is, you know, the operators of Uber involved in sexual assaults, because there's a thing in the app to deal with that. It happened often enough that I guess they had to worry about it in that context.
Which is so disturbing.
Yeah.
Krista, as a young woman, does this go through your mind whenever you're looking at Uber and stuff like that?
I don't ever really use Uber. I've used it maybe once for a friend's bachelorette party. Sorry, what was the question?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, when we look at, I think was it Uber or Lyft we used. You can look at the drivers and see if they're male or female and like what kind of car they're driving. And sometimes when you're with a group of girls, it's like, maybe we should go with a female driver.
Well, that's what my follow-up is like. Let's say you call an Uber and it's late and he pulls up and he's got like a My Hero Academia t-shirt and maybe some other warning signs, and he's staring at you, but he never looks you in the eye. Are you rethinking it?
If I'm with a group, probably less so. If I was by myself, I might be like, maybe not.
Now, that $59 million was so much per instance per day of them failing to report, plus an interest payment on that, because there were a lot of these. It adds up to a really big number. Unfortunate.
I don't know. There's some conspiracy theorists out there that say that Uber's sole point of existence is to launder oil money, which, when they lay it out, is like kind of convincing.
Well, if they switch to electric,
it still is laundering that that old oil money.
Well, I guess now's the time to get it out, right? To get it out of the system before the whole thing falls apart.
Or own some other kind of transportation. Like, what if you could own all of the cab industry in,
Probably a good time to pick that up.
Yeah.
We'll see. This is another headline that we see week after week. It's just slightly different. And it's not anything major new. It's just they keep tightening the noose more and more.
Europe triples down on tough rules for tech. Most of this has to do with like incentives for small and regional businesses that compete with big tech, but also making sure that big tech is not using its influence to take over other markets. So like I think the example they used was Google referring to Yelp or something like that.
Why did they use a computer from the 90s to make this photo?
Because it's ironic. You just don't get it, man.
It was a simpler time in computing, a more innocent time.
They talk a lot about gatekeeping here, which we see a lot of. Different kind of gatekeeping. But basically, you can't use your if you're Google, you can't use your ad power to lock out like Yelp, for example, just because you have a similar thing, which they for sure do or have done in the past. I'll say that. And this story points out that governments are going after big tech companies, and it doesn't matter if they can't get you for anything right now, because big tech companies have been doing bad stuff for years, since their existence in most cases. So they just go to the back catalog, pick something, and send you a bill.
Australia sues Facebook over its use of the Onavo app to snoop. Now, we've covered this app before in the past. This is a VPN from Facebook. And the VPN from Facebook, it funneled all of your internet traffic through Facebook. So guess what? They could build a profile on you and monitor it. And they absolutely did do that. Absolutely 100%.
Facebook? Never.
In some markets, traffic on your mobile phone to Facebook was free. It was not metered. So if you use the Facebook VPN, you could essentially get unlimited data. Of course, the only side effect of that is that Mark Zuckerberg is your co-pilot.
And they've proven from other documents that were seized, I don't know if it was in relation to this, but somehow they got a hold of them, that Facebook's choice to buy, was it WhatsApp, I think?
Yeah.
Was very heavily influenced by the data they got through Onavo. Because they were like, oh my God, look, all these teens are using WhatsApp. We should get that. And that might be a little of the old gatekeeping that we just talked about in the last story.
We must own that.
I like that there's a comment under this article and it just says, yeah. And it's been liked 2 times.
What a helpful comment.
Yeah.
You think that like they got done typing that and they press send and they got like a little burst of endorphins? It's like, I'm helping. I'm participating.
I had that app. I had no idea that I was being spied upon.
There's not even a period. It's just, yeah.
Garbage. Do you remember this whole headline? Because I can't give it to you. I can't scroll.
Yeah. I can approximate it.
This is, it's easier. I mean, we kind of have this, but not really.
Not really.
But it's easier in these less developed countries to do this really draconian stuff. And again, the big tech companies are going to be right there helping you, holding your hand, probably telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that the people of Nigeria are going to have to suffer this.
Nigeria orders mobile users to link their mobile phone numbers to their citizen ID. So Nigeria has rolled out a national citizen ID program. It's a little new. They've only got about 42 million participants.
But it was like 196
million mobile users. So they need everybody that has a mobile phone. They need all their citizens to register for numbers because they want to track that now. And they're going to turn off your phone service if you don't. They did give them a 6-month extension. I think the article was updated or whatever.
Did they confirm the 6-month extension? Because they were talking about that.
That was my understanding. But maybe do we have anybody that's there can let us know? But it seemed like they were going to have to do a 6-month extension because they're not going to add 100 million people immediately.
We might have some people who are there, but now their phones don't work.
They can't comment.
I mean, it seemed like what was happening was that so many people would have to register for their national ID number so quickly that there's just no way they could handle that volume.
Yeah, it seemed like the guy from who was part of that infrastructure was like, no, you have to give us 6 months. So we'll keep up with that one.
Well, switching gears to security.
And this is the one that we got a lot of comments about just because of the filming schedule. We missed this, but it is certainly the news of the week. Now, these stories, I think they're somewhat in the order in which they should be, but I mean, how many stories do you see about this week?
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Dozens, yeah.
So,
and we haven't seen the bottom of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to we'll try to give you a little bit of a timeline, but let's just do the first headline first.
Reuters say that hackers use Solarwinds dominance against it in a sprawling spy campaign. If you're not in the loop on this, Solarwinds is a managed service provider company, but they also offer some tools. It's used everywhere. Their tools are really good, and they're just for monitoring and like sheep herding your computers. But it's really good tools. The problem is that, they've had a security incident for some time now.
And they automate updates in a super convenient package.
Yeah.
It's really kind of just forget about it. But that introduces a huge problem.
Yeah.
Because you have to trust the update software.
Who's asking it to update?
And
Russia, it turns out.
Guess what happened? Well, we don't know it's Russians. It seems like it's probably Russians. Yeah. And so someone got in there, poisoned the well, and what was this, like 80,000 companies
It is.
It didn't affect them all.
We do not know how deep this rabbit hole goes, and your next article talks a little bit about that. But there's more there's more going on here than we know yet. We'll probably be reporting on that next week.
The big ones that we do know were all, like you say, in the government, and all like
mostly American,
serious government systems.
Yeah,
that you do not want the Russians in under any circumstance.
Like the system that controls the nuclear weapon arsenal.
Yes.
But there was just the number of companies who use the software is staggering. Now, SolarWinds has said that they couldn't possibly all be infected. Of course, we heard. Remember when what was the credit leak one?
Equifax.
Yeah.
Initially, it's like that's just a couple of people. So we don't know for sure, but we do know that all of a sudden that they were really big on listing their customer list because it was a lot of names and it was big names.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
That's gone. SolarWinds has hidden its list of high-profile customers after a devastating hack. The IT contractor was at the center of a massive breach targeting federal agencies. Not just federal agencies. It was federal agencies, non-government think tanks, and high-profile IT companies. So there were so many companies and individuals hacked that whoever was responsible for this was starting to have trouble keeping up. And this was a very, very sophisticated hack in that it was very subtle. It's very hard to detect. It goes back months. And some of these customers, Microsoft has already confirmed, received a second stage to this payload. So, I mean, this potentially, the fallout from this potentially is like, you know, resetting your keys to the domain, resetting your domain encryption keys, resetting credentials, resetting. Like this is an IT administrator's worst nightmare in terms of like, even if you weren't hacked, if you were using their tools and you had the version of the tools that had the compromise, you may be far more screwed than you realize. It's just that nothing has happened yet.
How about the patience of these guys?
Yeah.
I mean, they left this in place for a very long time. And even, you know, like you would think that during the election they might strike, but no.
No, this compromise was so subtle that when you installed the bad version, it would literally do nothing suspicious for on the order of 2 weeks.
Krista, what do you think about this digital skull?
I like that image. It's a good one.
I don't like the spacing in his teeth. Otherwise, strong image.
Strong image. And because it's kind of like particles, it looks like solar wind. Like when you see those images.
Oh, yeah. Nice little gradient. It's like it's blowing along it.
Yeah.
Now, when do you say that the patients was like getting the infection and then just like letting it sit there? That was a brilliant move. And they had this nice infrastructure of command and control. So they had one server that it would only talk to after a certain amount of time, and then that server had a one DNS entry
that would tell it what to do,
that it knew to look for to go for another subdomain to get another command and control. Fortunately, the security guys who've been probably poring over this for the last 2 weeks were able to work that out.
Microsoft and industry partners seize a key domain used in the SolarWinds hack. Updated, the seized domain has been turned into a kill switch to prevent the SolarWinds hackers to escalate infections and make new victims. That's the good news. The bad news is that now Microsoft has a piece of infrastructure that it can use for telemetry for tracking who all is infected. And let me tell you, it's not good news. I read one report that the FBI literally raided one of the SolarWinds offices in Texas because they needed to seize more evidence and they couldn't wait on them to deal with it.
And I'm sure there will be more stories before you see this.
Yes.
Because it is coming hard and fast. We're keeping up with it. Now, the greatest little nugget about this story, and I've seen some like pretty big names in security saying that that's probably not how they get in. It's just embarrassing, but it was the password.
Oh, SolarWinds 123. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought this is a really good. Like, I hope it looks like this is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's some really, really severe things that have happened as a result of this. Even Microsoft themselves, in some of their divisions, used SolarWinds tools, and so there's auditing and stuff like that taking place with that. I think this is a good lesson. So like any congressperson, or like Bill Barr before he stepped down was arguing for the whole, oh, we need a backdoor for encryption. This is the tiniest taste of what we can expect if encryption is backdoored.
They won't ever put that together, though.
Is that dog beating on her water dish back there?
No, that is my husband eating some salad out of a metal bowl.
Wow, what an animal. But now, don't you think that they will try and spin this as we need backdoors?
This is what will happen when there are backdoors.
But they will turn it around.
They won't think about that, though.
Oh my gosh.
That's not what they're going to learn from this.
Up really is down. War really is peace. This is the time that we live in.
Wait and see.
Oh my gosh. Please, audience, don't be that stupid. Don't be that stupid.
Well, they're not in government.
Some of them probably are.
So this is a headline. I include these because I feel like people need to understand how bad this is, but I'm so bored of this same headline. It is every week.
Up to 3 million devices infected by malware-laced Chrome and Edge add-ons. Security firm identifies 28 malicious extensions hosted by Google and Microsoft. So wasn't it a couple of weeks ago that we reported that Google was basically jettisoning the entire extensions thing on Chrome because like the whole payments thing to try to remove the incentive? But this is just dark.
I can't imagine who is falling for direct message for Instagram. What does that app do you think? Like once you get it, what does it do? It's not going to actually interface with Instagram, right? Or is it trying to capture your login? Or
I don't think you can do certain things. Like you can't just log into Instagram from like a browser normally. So maybe people think, oh, this extension will let me do that, so I can post from my computer instead of my phone.
I would like to download that app just to see what it does.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't actually do anything that you want it to do, but
so
I may have that wrong about Instagram, but that's how I remember it working. So people probably falling for that.
But you would also, like if you search for Instagram in a Play Store, what number result is that? How many pages do you have to go through? Maybe it's like a phishing type thing. I don't know. So, well, you mentioned Barr, and we know that the powers that be are constantly beating us over the head saying, we need to break your encryption. Your encryption is evil and it's wrong, and we have to stop it. But what they don't ever mention in that argument is that they don't really need to because they already have access to everything. I mean, if they have the access to your devices, they have the technology.
Eventually, they're going to get in.
And it just keeps getting better.
Israeli phone hacking firm claims it can now break into encrypted Signal app. Cellebrite claims it can now crack Signal, which is regarded as the most encrypted app and is commonly used by journalists to communicate with sources. Now, this is not over the wire. This is with the device in hand. So, yes, like what you were saying, a lot of the, oh my gosh, we need an encryption backdoor is more about surreptitious access, not access to the endpoints.
If you'll think back to prior to the election, there were a lot of news stories. This one kind of got glossed over a little bit, but there was a little bit of embarrassment there because Trump's Twitter got hacked.
We reported that.
And they have found who was responsible. And after talking to him, it turns out he's not just some ne'er-do-well or a Russian troll. He was just a guy who was, curious and trying passwords.
Trump's Twitter hack, police accept attacker's claim. This headline is misleading and wrong. So the American police force was really trying, the COVID lady, like in Florida. Oh, I said the word. Damn it. The lady in Florida, they had like the police raid. America tried to do that. And the Dutch prosecutors looked at it and were like, that's what the password is? No. We're not. This guy had honest intentions. We're not going to bring him up on charges.
What was that password, you wonder?
MAGA 2020 exclamation point.
How much would you bet? I would bet almost everything I own that he started with just MAGA 2020 and it failed the password policy. And he was like, yeah. Fine, put an exclamation.
Probably.
So, yeah, unfortunate. They point out that he was another time he got hacked, and the password was equally bad. Do you remember what it was?
Mm-mm.
It was like another Trump-related thing. Oh, you're fired. All one word. That was in 2016. I mean, God. I hate, like the Never Trump stuff because it's just so boring at this point. But that is disgusting. Like, that's the leader of the free world.
I still like the police response to that, where they were like, yeah, let's bring him up on international charges and blah, blah, blah. And the Dutch prosecutor looked at it and like, you guys are out of your mind. And then I look at the police raid on the Florida lady and it's like,
Right. Don't embarrass the politicians. You got to give it up for the Dutch. They're not playing that game. Now, I remember originally doing this story. I did not remember all of the details of it. So here's a little bit of background for you. Apparently, Girls Do Porn was this thing where the girls did the porn knowing that it was porn. But they are now claiming that they were told it was never going on the internet, which, come on, it's 2020. It was only going to be on DVD and was only going to be sold in Australia. That turned out not to be true.
Did you get that in writing?
It went on Pornhub. And so now
40 girls do porn victims are suing Pornhub for $1 million each. The victims are sex trafficking. They are victims of sex trafficking operation. Girls Do Porn claim that MindGeek, Pornhub's parent company, is responsible for upending their lives. I don't think that the Pornhub or MindGeek are responsible for the original act, but I think they probably got their hands on the video. I think that an aspect of this is that now is the time to file after the whole Visa MasterCard thing from last week, but I don't think they're going to get $1 million each.
And sex trafficking, I mean, it's disgusting what happened for sure, but
Yeah.
Is it sex trafficking if they knew? I mean, they were getting paid to film sex.
I feel like this is probably illegal in California. I'm not sure where it took place, but
It depends on how, if the article says coerced, so like, how were they coerced? Like, was it?
It was like, we saw your Instagram or whatever. We've got a modeling job for you. We're going to fly you out. Here's your ticket. Here's your stuff. They're picked up at the airport. And then they're brought into like a casting couch room and they're like, okay, here's the deal. You've got to do porn. And they're like,
It's like, do you get a plane ticket back, or is it just like, now you're stuck out here?
Yeah.
No, I think you could turn it down.
You can turn it down, but then you didn't
have no way to get home. Like,
Yeah.
that's the...
I don't know. Are you sure that's part of it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, because how else are you going to get paid? So you use all your money. They're like, oh, we fly you out and we'll do all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, we're going to put you up and you're going to be in this nice hotel room. And now, oh, you don't want to do this? Well, we're going to kick you out and we're not going to fly you home either.
Here's he's really going hard at that salad.
Yeah.
Here's a little pro tip for any of young ladies out there. I know you don't watch the channel. Maybe if you have a girlfriend, send her this clip. If someone tells you that they're going to make porn that won't make it onto the internet, that is literally impossible. That doesn't exist. Don't fall for that. And TikTok. Now, TikTok, we're in this big fight. Actually, I guess we're not anymore, right? Because no one cares because Trump is gone. But TikTok is in this limbo of like, are they? It's Schrodinger's TikTok. Are they banned? Are they not? Will it just not matter after January? Well, they probably have another bullet point in the maybe not category because they promised, guys, we got nothing to do with Chinese government. we're just, we're from China, but that doesn't mean we're in bed with the Chinese government.
And then TikTok has been caught sending personal data from job applicants to China. What?
Why would you need to do that?
Didn't they say that they were going to open up an American office? Huh.
So yeah, maybe your TikTok data as a user is not going to China. Maybe it is. But for sure, if you're trying to get a job, they're going to screen you.
Yeah.
And by they, I mean the Communist Party.
I mean, it's not great, but is that really too surprising though? Like,
well,
would you
no,
be surprised if you applied there and it was like, oh, this has to be screened by China because it's a Chinese company?
It's not surprising, but it is damning in terms of their eventual showdown with the U.S. government powers. Not good. Gmail and Google in particular, or in general, had a bit of a tough week. You don't want to see this.
Gmail is broken right now, one day after massive outage, according to TechCrunch. Oh, now they've fixed it. So they had an outage because their authentication server was messed up because they hit the kernel quota limit on something. Didn't plan for that, I guess. And more impressive that only one system handles authentication across all of Google. I mean, that's surprising. But then Gmail was broken just a day later for different reasons, but are related reasons.
And it wasn't just you couldn't log in. It was like you couldn't authenticate. That was one of the big problems. It was also rejecting messages.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
If you logged in to, well, during their main outage, if you were just logged in at all, you couldn't use certain Google properties. But like if you open an incognito window, things would continue to work correctly, but you couldn't log in.
This is a great image. We talk a lot about these sort of researcher-only security situations. There are definitely people out there whose whole purpose in this world is just to come up with crazy ways to break security.
I love this.
This is one of the best. Now, this guy actually has a huge history of this kind of thing, but I think this is one of, because this is going to work in almost every system.
And it's so elegant.
Yeah.
Academics turn RAM into Wi-Fi cards to steal data from air-gapped systems. Wait, what? How is that possible? Well, he figured out that you could read and write to RAM in a certain pattern as to create stuff on the electromagnetic spectrum. So reading and writing to memory in a certain pattern would produce RF interference on the frequencies that Wi-Fi use. So you can have a specially crafted application on a device like a phone near an air-gapped computer and extract information from the air-gapped computer at about 100 bytes per second, which is more than fast enough to steal encryption keys.
You're not going to get any sensitive videos from your target. But once you get that key, then you can just go get those. Here's a quick list of all the other ways this guy has broken air-gapped systems. He's a busy boy.
Oh no.
Why doesn't he already have a job?
He's just having too much fun doing this.
Yeah.
And finally, I saw this headline and I was like, that's not going to be what I think it is. Surely.
It totally was.
Why would they need to do that? But then like I thought about it, I was like, of course they're doing that. Because there's this crazy thing. Like, I'm often surprised when we see weird stuff that happens like this, how much power the school has once the children are in the school.
Yeah.
Like, they can do almost anything they want. It's like, oh, we're a school. We do whatever we want. Such as?
U.S. schools are buying phone hacking tech that the FBI uses to investigate terrorists. So little Johnny's going to have all of the stuff extracted from his phone because submit to authority? This seems crazy. Like, if I was a parent, I just wouldn't give my kid a phone.
No. See, now you're in Krista fantasy land. Krista, have you modified, now that we're in 2020, have you rethought what age you'll give your kid a smartphone? Are you sticking with whatever insane
It would be the
number?
age they start like actually doing stuff. Like, there's no reason to give your kid a phone when they're not ever like that far away from you for very long.
What about when they start going to school?
That's not that long. They're there for like a few hours every day, and you always know where they are. They're always supervised. Usually it's like teenagers who start kind of hanging out on their own, and like then I could see giving them a cell phone so they can get in touch. But like, just if they're just going to school and like the rest of the time they're with you, why?
It's never gonna happen.
I would be helping my kid do like a virus or something so that like when they tried to scrape his phone, it shut down the system.
And then you would both go to jail.
Just hot glue in the port maybe would be the simpler solution. It's like I can't plug it in.
Now, unfortunately, they already have one case where they've used this that's going to turn a lot of people toward it, I think, which is there was like a, adult high school sexual relationship.
Yeah.
They used the Cellebrite to pull the deleted text messages, which were, I love you, from the adult to the... So that person's in jail, and now they've got a win on their belt. It's like, well, what if we didn't have this? But yeah, kids don't need phones at school.
I don't think they do.
No, I don't think kids need electricity. We spoiled.
Technically, no one needs electricity, but it does make things a lot easier.
Doesn't your mom have a pacemaker? I think she needs electricity.
She does, but like most people.
There's a lot of things that distract from learning at school, that's for sure.
I think most of school distracts from learning.
Yeah,
you gotta learn all the stuff that's not directly taught.
You have to And this sounds really like, greeting card, but you really do have to learn.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And then you can teach yourself. For example, let's say that you wanted to learn something about, Linux or hosting things.
Oh, yeah.
Doing things online.
Linode's got some amazing tutorials from some amazing people like us, but also other people.
Krista, how big is this salad?
it's literally in like a mixing bowl.
The level
That's
1.
why you can hear it like hitting the fork hitting the side.
Listen, 2020 has been a bad year for level 1 production quality. I don't know. Here's to making it a little bit better for 2021.
Yeah, my laptop decided to mess up like right before we started, so I'm in the same office as my husband, so you may hear one of us typing periodically.
Oh yeah,
I think you need to
periodically, constantly.
You need to create a calendar entry for Friday mornings at like 10 a.m. to check laptop.
I restarted it 3 times and it was just like, I don't know. Like, I'm just not going to find any internet connections. And I was like, why? And I didn't want to like run a whole cable up to it. So I was just like, screw it. I'll just plug in my mic on the other computer. Anyway.
Well, maybe you need some new hardware, Krista. I wonder what you could do to win some hot new hardware.
Oh, go check out the Minecraft server and build something incredible. Go to forum.level1text.com for more information.
Woo!
Woo!
Tomorrow we'll be having a business, and I forget.
Sounds good. We'll see you then, chat. Bye!